Hello everybody and welcome back to week 11 power rankings. So this week is an interesting week. A lot of teams moved up that probably no one expected to be where they're at. But anyways, let's get started at number 30 and we're going to stay in Kansas City. So Kansas City having a rough go of late, not playing great, not playing well at all. And I think right now, clearly, I think they're playing the worst in the league. They are not playing good baseball like in the slightest. Which I've said before, it's disappointing for Kansas City because they are in a rebuild, and a season like this does not help morale when none of your young prospects are really playing up to par. So they remain at 30 right now. Hopefully they can get it going, but it looks like the AL Central is just going to be hosting some really bad teams in the near future. All right, same spot as last week are the Oakland A's. So the Oakland A's, they have 19 wins now. They're still not at 20 wins, but they're playing a little bit better. Last week is a lot better than this week, but again, their week wasn't bad enough to move them down back to 30. I think clearly Kansas City has been playing the worst out of the bunch, but as we'll talk about, the next two teams also aren't playing that great. So I think people can be moving up 2 or 3 spots next week. Oakland, I should say, could be moving up 2 or 3 spots next week, 2 most likely, if they have a good week. So we'll talk about the next teams real quick here, but yeah, Oakland stays at 29. All right, dropping 1 spot are the Rockies. So the Rockies are not playing good. So this is what I'm talking about. But the Rockies continue to play this bad, they could easily be passed next week by Oakland if Oakland just has another 500 week or so and they continue to lose like 4 games in a row. The Rockies are not looking good right now. They had like 3 weeks ago, a month ago, they were like kind of. I mean, they still would have been a far shot for a wild card, but they looked like, hey, this team seems to have something going for them. That's completely gone. They're playing awful right now, and I moved them down all the way to 28. Moving up 1 spot, but don't celebrate because it wasn't because you did good. It's just because you weren't as bad as the Rockies. Another team that looked promising for a split second and now have returned to form of just being bad. It's unfortunate because I was happy to see, especially a team like the Nationals play well, but now they're just not playing good at all right now. So it was a debate between Rockies and Nationals who goes to 28. Rockies just squeaked by with just being a little bit worse. So Nationals, yeah, you move up a spot, but I won't be celebrating because you still look really bad. So like I said, Oakland has a decent week. They couldn't have passing both these teams. All right, dropping 1 spot are the Cardinals. The Cardinals, I think they're going to be sellers. Depends. I'm curious to see who they let go of, I should say. But it looked like for a second they had a glimmer of hope to kind of sneak back. But the Cubs playing well, the Pirates playing okay, and the Brewers playing okay. I think it's going to be and the Reds. I mean, like they have such a high climb at this point that I just think they realize they're going to be sellers. So I mean, the record's 29-43. So if you're a Cardinals fan, I think it's safe to say this season is dead, and you're gonna have to prepare yourself for who goes at the deadline. All right, moving up 1 spot are the Tigers. So the Tigers, I wasn't expecting to move them up at all, but they went into Minnesota, just kind of making the main embarrassment of the Minnesota Twins. So I do move them up 1 spot, just reward them for kind of just giving it to the Minnesota Twins, especially like holding them to like no runs. So good job on the Tigers front. I think they won 2 bullpen games, so. Embarrassing for the Twins, good for the Tigers. I moved them up 1 spot, they're at 25, but the record's 30-40. But the Central's that bad where you're still not out of it, so I'm curious to see what happens at the deadline with some of their players. But if I had to guess, they're not going to be selling anybody, but who knows. All right, same spot as last week are the White Sox. The White Sox are just kind of stuck at 500 ball right now, which usually is okay, but when you have a hole and you're not, like a hole in terms of games back, you need to be playing above 500 to catch up. Again, luckily the Twins are selling completely, so they have a chance still, but the record's 31-42, so kind of a high climb, but again, I think this team's definitely going to be sellers because they have some high-end talent they probably want to get off their books, whereas the Tigers don't really. So I can see why the Tigers wouldn't sell, but the White Sox might get rid of a couple pitchers or so. But having said all that, they're not completely out of it, but I would say there's like maybe a 10% chance they end up making the playoffs. Because you have to, basically, if you're in the Central, you have to win the division. There's no wild card teams coming out of that division. So probably have a 10% chance to win the Central. So right now I have them at 25. Again, they're playing 500 ball. They need to find, a week where they go like 7 or 6-1 or 5-2 a couple weeks in a row to kind of get back on track. But right now they're stuck at 25. All right, dropping 3 spots are the Mets. The Mets do not look good at all. They continue to fall. I don't know. Some people say they might be too low, but they're just not playing well. And even if their roster is really good and you think it doesn't look good on paper that they're at 23, it doesn't matter because they're playing that bad. A couple of teams, you'll see that I moved down that on paper, no one else probably has them this low, but in my opinion, they're just not playing well. And teams who are playing better deserve to move up. So now the record's 33-38. They keep dropping again, so now they're at 23. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens with the Mets, but they need to get it going because right now they are in trouble. All All right, same spot as last week are the Mariners. The Mariners, again, one of those teams is just stuck at playing kind of 500 ball, which is okay for now, but they're going to need to have a couple weeks to get themselves at least back into the conversation. Because unlucky for them, they're not in the Central where 500 gets you by. If you're the Mariners, you need to get a wild card spot, and the wild card teams have better records than 35 and 35. So you got to find like a good stride here to get your team going. But yeah, right now they're just underperforming, and they need to find a way to get some good quality wins to give themselves an opportunity to take that wild card spot. But right now they're at 22. We'll see if they can get it going. But yeah, again, another team is just playing 500 ball. All right, moving up 2 spots are the Cubs. The Cubs are actually looking pretty good right now. So their record is now 33 and 38, which again isn't a great record. I think it's the same as the Mets, but the record was a lot worse not too long ago. So they're playing better. They're going to have a lot of work to do if they want to get a wild card spot, but the way they're playing, and it's still only June, it's almost July, but they still have a lot of time to, if they continue to play like this, I think they have a chance at a wild card. We'll see what the trade deadline looks like. If they keep winning, who knows what they do. I think this is going to be a very important stretch of games for them because this will basically be whether they're sellers or not. But if they keep playing well, I don't think they will sell, but I don't know. Who knows? But I do move them up 2 more spots. So right now they're at 21. All right, dropping 1 spot are the Guardians. So the record's also 33 and 38, like many of these teams here. And they dropped because they really just got passed. They're not playing like bad, but they're not playing good. They're just playing mediocre ball. And they're in the Central, luckily, so I think they're only 2.5 back of the Minnesota Twins because the Twins are Twins. So yeah, the Guardians can't hit. They can pitch. Same story. But yeah, they don't move much. They actually dropped 1 spot, like I said, because they got passed. So I don't know. It's hard to say. Like I don't know how to interpret the Central all because on paper it's really the White Sox and Twins, but the White Sox are doing really bad. The Twins are playing mediocre. So I don't know. It might just come down to the other thing like last year where it's going to be Twins and Guardians the whole way. But yeah, we'll see what happens. Yeah, I do drop them 1 spot just because they got passed. Right now they're at 20. All right, dropping 9 spots. Yep. Pirates. So the Pirates aren't playing well, and they've been playing kind of 500. They had 1 decent week last week. Other than that, it's been surrounded by 500 and below 500 weeks. Right now, the record's at 34 and 36, so they're back below 500, which is just disappointing. But I don't know. Hopefully, they can keep winning games to maybe be in conversation for the wild card. But it seems like they're starting to kind of fall back a little bit, lose their momentum. So we'll see what happens. But I do drop them 9 spots, which might be kind of a steep drop. But again, they're just not playing well. I had them at 10, so I had to put them somewhere. And I think this is kind of a good spot for them right now. And hopefully, they have a bounce back week. But yeah, Pirates now are at 19. All right, the same spot are the Padres. They're at 18 now, or still, I should say. And I think, you can make an argument that they should have moved. I think they've been at 18 now 3 weeks in a row because now they are playing better. But the teams they're surrounded by also started playing really good, like the Giants and Phillies. So I don't know. It was hard to say who should be ahead of who. So I kept them at 18. Hopefully next week we'll get a better idea of what's going on. But I think, keeping them 18 now is a fair spot. They have another good week, then we can start taking them seriously. But the record's only 35 and 36. They're still 1 game below 500, so it's not such a crazy idea to have them at 18. But I think some people I see them have them in their top 10, which I still don't understand. So right now I have them at 18, but I think the Padres are starting to get the momentum going. And I think they're going to start playing some really good games coming up. All right, moving at 4 spots are the Reds. The Reds now have a record over 500. And they are playing really good baseball. So their record now is 37 and 35. So that's better than a lot of teams that you wouldn't expect, like the Padres, the Twins, the Mariners. Like no one ever would have guessed that based on the Cardinals. No one would have guessed that happening based on last year. No, the Reds are looking really good right now. Honestly, if it's a bait and switch for the Pirates and Reds, I'm okay with that because one of those 2 teams I really hope make the wild card game. But we shall see. Yeah, the Reds are playing really good. I was hoping this was going to happen last week with them, and actually a couple weeks ago, but they kind of fumbled those games. This week they got it all taken care of, so now I move them up to 17, and I hope they continue to play well. All right, dropping 2 spots are the Twins. This means there are no AL Central teams in the top half of the board. Well, I guess technically the board, but there's no top 15 for any Central teams because the Twins are embarrassing. They started off the week great, and it's super weird because they have a decent record. I think they're 500, just 1 game below 500 against like good teams, and every time they play teams that aren't good, Tigers, Nationals, Guardians, they can't win, and they can't hit either. And they play against Toronto, a good team, they hit. Play against the Tigers, they can't hit. I don't understand that at all. I mean, I think it's one of those things where you underperforming against bad teams, the teams that you should beat. You see it a lot in other sports like basketball or hockey. Baseball, you don't see it it's not as common, I would say. Yeah, it's just really weird, and it's really just disappointing. I was at the game, the first bullpen game. I think it was Friday. It was Friday, and just embarrassing and really embarrassing game. So yeah, the Twins. I just said I had to drop them because even though they had a 500 week, the record's still 36-36. Their record should be like 42 and whatever it be, 42-34, 42-30, whatever. But they've fumbled so many games, and it's just, like I said, it's embarrassing that I just had to move them out the top half because this is just, yeah. I could rant a whole 20-minute video about the Twins and all the things they're doing wrong, but if you're a Twins fan, you already know. So I'll stop talking about the Twins here, but yeah, right now they're at 16. All right, same spot are the Milwaukee Brewers. The Brewers had a good bounce back to end their week after getting swept by Minnesota, but they're still playing this like mediocre ball, in my opinion. They stay at 15. The record's now 37-34, so they're a few games above 500 now, which is good for them. But they, again, another team I think that should have a much better record. So they're playing okay, but I'm worried about them as, I guess, how much talent they have to make a deep run in the playoffs. Like, believe it or not, some of these teams down here, like the Padres, the Mariners, like even the Twins, the Mets, I have more faith in them if like the playoffs started today than the Brewers, just because I feel like I just don't see it with the Brewers where they have that just like X factor, I guess. But and the like difference with these teams, like the Twins and other teams, their X factor players aren't performing. So that being said, though, like I said, Brewers, I just don't see that, so I'm a little worried about that. But again, they're playing okay, so I have them at 15. But again, I think week one I had them at 2. So I expect more of the Brewers. We'll see what they can do, and I wonder what they do with the trade deadline because I think they're going to need to pick up probably as a big bat to help that lineup. All right, dropping one spot are the Red Sox. The Red Sox, I debated moving them up. I could have moved them up, but again, teams around them were just playing a lot better. So I decided to keep them, or actually move them down a spot because they ended up getting passed by a team. So the Red Sox do move down a spot. They did sweep New York, which was a good way to end their week. And they're at 2 games over 500 at 37-35. So I think they're playing a little bit above expectations, actually. So I'm curious to see what they do at the trade deadline. But again, I just didn't move them up because the teams around them were playing a little bit better. But they're at 14, not a bad spot. We'll see what they can do next week. But again, the end of the week strong, so if they can pick up and start this week strong as well. All right, moving at 4 spots are the Phillies. So their record's now 38-34, and the Phillies are finally looking good. I'm not ready to buy back into them yet because I just don't want to be disappointed, but they're looking much better than they did not too long ago. So like a couple weeks ago, I think it was like 3 weeks ago, I wrote them off and I said they're pretty much dead because I can't keep buying into them, but they finally are getting it together. They're putting it together. They're winning good games. This is back-to-back really good weeks for the Phillies. So yeah, we'll see. But I'm starting to buy in, just not yet. I'm gonna knock on wood again, so you can't blame me if something happens. But yeah, 38-34. The Phillies are finally looking good, so I move them up to 13. All right, moving at 4 spots are the Giants. The Giants' record's now 39-32, and after looking like the season was spiraling out of control, they've put together 3 solid weeks in a row. So the Giants are kind of a threat to the Dodgers at this point. The Giants are playing well. Their record's 39-32. They're creeping up. That NL West race can end up being insane between the Diamondbacks. Even if the Padres get it going, it could be a 4-team race, which would be so cool. It's kind of similar to the NL Central. That's looking like a 4-team race as well. So, and the Cardinals are the team that's out. How funny is that? So yeah. Anyways, though, the Giants are playing well. I do move them up all the way to 12. So we'll see if they can keep it going. But like I said at the very beginning of the year, I have faith in them, and this could be my team. This could be my pick. Although I did falter and hope a few times, this is the team I picked like week 1 to be a surprising team out of the National League. And so far, that prediction looks like it's panning out. I'll knock on wood again, though. But yeah, the Giants are playing well. All right, dropping 2 spots are the Astros. So the Astros have now had a rough couple of weeks. They moved down all the way to 11 now. Losing Jordan doesn't help them, and the record's now 39-33. So tough go as of late for the Astros. I'm not worried just yet, but I think if they have another bad week, this could be trouble for them because the West could get out of reach for them, so they might be looking at wild card at this point. And yeah, so yeah, we'll see what happens in Houston. I expect them, though, to have a bounce back week this week because 2 bad weeks in a row isn't like them, but we shall see if this is going to end up being a rough stretch or potentially an issue they need to address. So we'll see what happens, though. Right now, they're at 11. All right, dropping 2 spots are the Dodgers. The Dodgers are now at 10 after being at, I think, 3 not too long ago. Maybe they were even 2. And the record's now 39-33. So similar to Houston, where they've had a bad last couple weeks. And this is, again, another situation where the Diamondbacks and now the Giants are creeping up on you. So you need to get your stuff together. You need to get your house in order. And again, I think this next week's going to be another indication, just like Houston, if this is a rough couple weeks, a rough stretch, or something that needs to be addressed. So we'll see what happens with LA, but yeah, not playing great right now. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, I'm a little worried for them just because I just thought their roster was weak to begin with, but they had some great weeks, but now some people who are playing well aren't playing as well, like James Outman. So yeah, we shall see though with the Dodgers, but right now they're at 10. All right, dropping 2 spots are the Blue Jays. So the Blue Jays aren't playing terrible. They didn't have a great week though, so I do drop them 2 spots. They're still in the top 10. They still have a good record at 39-34. So, but yeah, just not playing as good as they were last week, the last couple weeks. So I did move them down 2 spots. But again, they're still at 9, which is not a bad spot to be. So Toronto, though, again, they had a little bit of a stumble, but I expect them to bounce back this coming week. They're looking better, and hopefully Manoah can figure stuff out to get back in that rotation. But if he doesn't, I think since Barrios is pitching well, they don't necessarily need him. We shall see, though. So right now, they're at 9. All right, dropping 2 spots are the Yankees. The Yankees also don't look good right now. And honestly, of all the teams I've said recently, I'm most worried probably about the Yankees. The record's still good at 39-33, but the games they've lost, they've been bad losses. So New York is going to be interesting, especially at the trade deadline, because they don't look good right now. I could have honestly dropped them all the way down to 11 and swapped them with a few teams, but so I move them down 2 spots because they were at 6, and then we'll drop them all the way down to 11. But yeah, they don't look good right now. And those losses, like I said, have been bad losses. So we'll see. But again, I'm a little worried about New York. So hopefully this week they bounce back. But I think we should all keep an eye on them. All right, moving up 5 spots are Miami, and this is the highest they've been on the board. This is probably the most fun one that we've ever seen up here because they've had some hot and cold weeks. I think not too long ago they were 24. They've had 2 great weeks, and I decided to move them up because these teams, again, are playing mediocre, and they've been playing really good baseball. I'm sure a lot of people are saying they're too high, but the record's 41-31, which is better than a lot of these teams we just talked about. So before you hate on the Marlins, do some research because I think they deserve to be up on the top of the board because they are playing really well right now. And it'd be so cool if they got into the playoffs. And right now it's kind of their race to lose because now they have a good spot they're in. But yeah, so I look forward to seeing what they do at the trade deadline. But the Marlins are looking really good right now. That's why I have their hat on. And yeah, they're at 7. All right, moving up 5 spots are the Angels. So the Angels are 41-33. Another team where hopefully they can get into the playoffs because how cool would that be? I think if the Angels miss the playoffs, Ohtani's gone. So I think they need to make the playoffs and they also need to win the first round because I think otherwise Ohtani's probably going to leave. But yeah, the Angels are looking good. Hopefully this isn't a repeat of they look really good and they just fall facing a cliff. I kind of have faith in them. I think trade deadline's all going to be about their bullpen pretty much. So yeah, the Angels are at 6 right now. And again, people are going to say they're too high, but these teams that everyone else probably has in their top 10 just aren't playing that well right now. So I put the teams who are playing well on the top row and the teams who are playing bad get moved down the board. That's how I do it. So right now they're at 6, and we'll see if they can keep it going. All right, dropping 2 spots are the Rangers. The Rangers had a little bit of a rough week. Not terrible, but teams ahead of them just played better, so they do drop 2 spots. Could have dropped them 1, but we'll talk about the other teams. But yeah, the Rangers just didn't have as good of a week as you would want to, especially if you're ranked number 3 on the board. So I do move them down to 5. I think it's still a fair spot. I know probably all these logos are crooked, but yeah, the record's still 44-27. That's a fantastic record. The top 5 is so far separated from everyone else right now. It's kind of crazy. Yeah, the Rangers are at 5 still, which I think the top 5 teams are pretty much the elite teams of baseball. So Rangers fans, you shouldn't be upset about number 5. That is still a very respectable spot. But you couldn't keep pace with the other 4 teams, so that's why you're at 5. All right, same spot as last week are the Diamondbacks. So the Diamondbacks still look good. They just didn't do well enough to move up, but they didn't do bad enough to move down, so they stay at number 4. Diamondbacks are probably the most exciting team to watch in baseball besides the Rays. So I think the National League belongs to the Diamondbacks, American League, the Rays for most exciting teams to watch. Corbin Carroll, I think honestly has a shot at MVP and Rookie of the Year, but it's going to be an uphill climb with Acuna and Freeman. But I think he does have a chance, especially if he leads his team to a division title. That would be crazy, but yeah. Diamondbacks are looking good, so this is going to be all eyes on them with the trade deadline. What are they going to do? I'm assuming it's going to be starting pitching is going to be one of their main focuses. Yeah, Diamondbacks though, still at 4. All right, moving up 2 spots are the Orioles. So they basically just switched with the Rangers. They basically had polar opposite weeks, like they just flipped records. So that's pretty much why I decided to switch them. The Orioles, again, all 5 of these teams are playing really well. So there's not a whole lot to say other than they're continuing to play good baseball, and if they have one bad week, they don't turn it into 2 bad weeks. That's the difference between the top 5 teams and everyone else. These teams have a bad week and they sometimes let it roll into 2 or 3 weeks. These teams have been managing to have, if they have a bad week, they shake it off and have a good bounce back week, which is what the Orioles did this week. I'm expecting the Rangers to do it this week because they just had an off week. So yeah, Orioles stay at 3, or move to 3, I should say, and I expect them to continue to play good baseball. All right, same spot as last week with a record of 46-26 are the Braves. The Braves are looking really good right now. I think they're probably the best team. I was going to say they're the hottest team in baseball right now. I'll say they're the hottest team in the National League right now because I think people would say something about the Rays. The Rays are still playing ridiculously well. So the Braves, though, I moved up to 2 last week, and they are going to stay there because they do look like they're playing much better baseball than they were maybe a month ago. So I think they probably have the East on lock for winning that division. The Marlins could creep up on them, but I really think it's going to be Braves. But yeah, so yeah, the Braves are playing good. They're 20 games over 500, and again, it's just going to see what they do at the trade deadline. But yeah, I'm not worried about the Braves, and I don't think any Braves fans should be also, because I think, like I said, they have that division on lock. All right, same spot as last week, and as every other week are the Rays. I think the Rays have been in 1 all year and have not moved, so they are now above 50 wins. I think they're 51-24. Yeah, 51-24, and they're just playing, again, continuing to play great baseball. I don't even know if they need to add to the trade deadline, but they obviously will, so we'll see what they do there. All right, that is Week 11 Power Rankings. Let me know what I got right, what I got wrong. Any concerns you have with teams like my Twins, I'm concerned about them. Maybe you're concerned about other teams like the Padres or the Mariners or something. So let me know in the comment section below what you think. But yeah, this is Week 11 Power Rankings, and I'll see you guys next week.